You have built your way up to your first $10,000, and now the question is, how do you turn this 5-digit portfolio into a 6-digit portfolio? We have literally seen people get rich through various investments like stocks and property and crypto, but at the same time, we have also seen people lose tons of money on these very same investments. So what exactly is their magic formula, and what is the best investment for you to build your own pot of gold while avoiding all these pitfalls? And there are many ways to do this, but I'm going to share with you, in my opinion, the best way to do this so that you can get to your goal while still sleeping soundly at night. And so we are going to break all of that down in this video, and right at the end, I'm going to talk about how I would allocate my portfolio if I had to start all over again. Now, there are two ways that you can actually grow your $10,000 portfolio into a $100,000 portfolio. You can either pay using time or your hard work and skill set. Now, let's be frank, $10,000 is not a small sum of money, but neither is it life-changing. Now, if you invest the whole $10,000 into the stock market and do nothing else and let it compound at 8 to 10% for the next 30 years, you will receive $100,000. And if that is enough for you, put $10,000 into your brokerage and call it a day. Don't look at it, don't even open it for the next 30 years. You don't even need to top up any money. Because if you look at this study released by Schroders, right, after a year of investing, 31% of investors are actually losing money. However, after over 10 years, only 11.5% of investors are losing money, and after 20 years, 0.1% of investors are losing money. And so that means that actually, if you were to keep your investments and hold it for 30 years, there's a less than 0.1% chance that you will be losing money on your investments. But if you think, actually 30 years is very long. What else can I invest in? Can I invest in stocks, in crypto? Which one is the best? What's the best portfolio allocation? Which is the best investment? The answer is neither of this. Now, there are two ways for you to use your hard work and skill to grow from $10,000 to $100,000. You can either A, save your way there, or B, invest your way there. See, all you need to do is to prove yourself at work, earn a high enough salary where after you deduct all your financial commitments, you're able to save about $10,000 a year. Do this for 10 years and you will have saved up $100,000. It is very straightforward. Or you can take that money and invest it into the stock market, which compounds at about 8 to 10%. And that means that in 6.5 years, you will reach your target of $100,000. You see, the truth is there is no shortcut for hitting your first $100,000 without a lot of luck and hope. And to me, frankly speaking, luck and hope are horrible investing strategies. And the matter of fact is, if you only have $10,000, then the best investment, the first investment you should make is in yourself. Because Warren Buffett always reminds us that the number one rule of investing is not to lose any money. And let's be very honest with ourselves, the biggest risk to our portfolio is not the companies that you own, but ourselves. We lose money because we have no idea what the heck we are doing. You see, the thing is, there's no such thing as ready, because Mike Tyson also said before, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And the truth is, the only way for you to learn to handle volatility is for you to get your feet wet and for you to start investing. But at the same time, don't go in blind. How exactly do we invest in ourselves? You see, risk comes from the lack of understanding. And so for me personally, I'll read books, I'll watch podcasts or videos just like this to teach you about investing. You know, actually for just $20 a month, you can actually get a free book from Audible, which works just like a podcast. So when you're on your way to work, working out at the gym, that can be something that helps you to build your knowledge about investing. Or you can actually subscribe to this channel, which is totally free for new videos every single week. And whether or not you decide to take on a more active or passive style in investing, it is very important for us to actually stay updated on macro events, on global news, so that we do not fall into this thing called the herd mentality, where we actually get affected by other people's investments and the headlines that we see in the news. To me, this is particularly important so that we do not actually stop investing or sell too early just because of certain headlines or because of certain rumors that we see circulating around. And Charlie Munger once said the first $100,000 is a bitch, because the truth is there is no easy way there. The skill sets that we actually learn from taking us from $10,000 to $100,000 actually forms a very solid foundation for us to build upon, to learn new skills in order for us to eventually reach our retirement portfolio. And so once we have done all that, right, the $1,000,000 question, or maybe I should say the $100,000 question, is how should we allocate the portfolio? You see, the investment strategy that we use has to match our competency level, because the truth is, it is quite unlikely that on your first attempt, you're going to pick a company that doubles, triples, or even quadruples within the next year or so. And so if you had $100,000 and lost $5,000, that will only be a 5% loss. But because your portfolio is still small, having only $10,000, a $5,000 loss would set you back 50%, and that is what we are trying to prevent. Instead, what we want to do is actually to use this opportunity to get our feet wet, perhaps, speed up the process a little bit and get into the habit of picking good companies. Now, this is not a video where I'm going to dive into the rationale of how I construct my portfolio and the reasons behind choosing each individual holding, but I'm going to give you a high-level overview of my thought process as I construct this portfolio. So for me personally, I'll start with a 70-30 or even 80-20 portfolio where about 70% of the investment will actually go into a broad market index fund like the S&P 500. And with the remaining 30%, I'll double down into a company, preferably a big company that is already inside the S&P 500. A company that is so big that I can actually see people using its services or its product on a day-to-day basis. This will actually help boost your returns a little bit, and once you're comfortable with that, you can actually shift your portfolio allocation to a 50-25-25, where 50% is in a broad market index fund and 25% each into two different companies, so that you can actually get used to the habit and pick up the habit of actually tracking good companies, understanding their earnings and understanding how their business works. This will eventually help you spot patterns in successful companies, and that will serve you as you look to build your retirement portfolio from $100,000 onwards. But more on that in the next video. And so I decided to run some very quick calculations with historical numbers to see what happens if I were to only invest in the S&P 500 for the last 6 to 7 years. So for the last 6 to 7 years, the S&P 500 actually compounded at about 10%, which means that in these 6.5 years, my $10,000 would have grown to $100,000. However, if I consider a portfolio that is 50-25-25 of S&P 500, Google and Apple, over the same span of 6 to 7 years, it actually compounded at 16%, which means that I actually reached $100,000 in 5.5 years, a whole year earlier. Now at this point, you might say, what? All that effort for just 1 year more? Then what's the point? So before you click off disappointed, there is more. This is what I mean when I say $10,000 is not a life-changing sum of money. Because $10,000 is not a huge sum, the effects of compounding are not felt in the first $10,000, but only felt once we pass the $100,000 mark. And so using the same growth rates of 10% and 16%, if I had $100,000 compounding at 10%, it would take me 17 years for me to reach $1 million. However, the same $100,000 compounding at 16% would only take me 12 years to reach $1 million. And if you were to put that into perspective, it means that you could possibly retire about 5 to 10 years earlier. However, when we are managing a $100,000 6-digit portfolio, there are other considerations for us to think about, and I talk more about them in this video over here.